What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast. My name is DJ Ligori, and we are officially on episode number 168. Hope everybody had a fantastic Halloween, whether you decided to participate in dressing up or handing out candy. Nonetheless, I hope that you had a great holiday. Today, what we are going to talk about is something that I learned last week in a Acres of Diamonds monthly mindset mastery session, which is starting to become a little bit more public. So like people can just kind of come to them if they want. We hold these once a month. So if you're interested in learning a little bit about mental fitness and leadership and how you can basically handle stress better in your life by altering perspectives and kind of changing the story that we put on certain events, you're more than welcome to come to these events. They're all virtual, all right through Zoom. So if you're interested, shoot me a message and I'll send you over the link for all of the upcoming sessions. They are always at the last Wednesday of each month at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. And so for this past session, we were talking about the secret sauce to leadership. And one of the members who has been a member of our Acres of Diamonds community for a long time and is also a part of our Be That Guy community, our young men coaching program, he's had this saying that was super powerful. And I'm not going to give you the saying yet, because what I want to do first is I want to tell a story that I think is a great connector to this saying. And this wasn't last year. This was probably like 3 years ago, probably in 2021, I decided to run a half marathon with 3 of my good buddies. And we were doing a bunch of training for it. And for those of you who don't know, half marathon is 13.1 miles. And we were running around a Finger Lake in Rochester, in New York. I can't remember exactly what Finger Lake it was. But we all were kind of doing our own training programs for it. And I would say like a week before the race, one of my buddies was like, dude, I've been training. He's like, this is hard. He's like, I think he'd only ran probably like 7 or 8 miles. It was like the most amount that he had run. So he kind of almost had to do double of what he had done. He's like, dude, what happens if I don't finish? And we kind of were silent on the phone. And I was like, well, what happens if you do? And it was this new story that we put to the event of basically what happens if I actually finish this race, right? It's going to be hard. There's going to be some moments where I'm going to probably tell myself, oh my God, this sucks. I'm not going to make it through this. Why did I think this was even a good idea? I'm in a lot of pain. And we're going to have all this doubt. Yet, what if we still finish it, right? What if that idea or that belief is still in our head and that's what we decide to focus on? And so in this mastermind, so long story short, we ended up all finishing the race. We did pretty good, and it was an awesome event. It was a great experience and a great memory. And so in this mastermind session in this last week, this one member, he said, what if we go from doubt to belief? What if we lived more of our life in this sense of believing that the outcome that we want could possibly happen? And I think a lot of us tend to project the negative thing to simply just get prepared for it, which I don't know if that's the worst of ideas, right? I think it's better to be prepared for all the possibilities so that when things possibly happen, we know what to do to get through it, or we at least have a plan to get through it. Yet I want to spend more of my time in believing that I'm going to do all right. And I'm going to get through this thing, even if I have some obstacles or some challenges arise in the process. And there was this guy once, his name was Albert Einstein. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of him. But he said the most important decision we make is whether we believe we live in a friendly or a hostile universe. The most important decision we make is whether we believe we live in a friendly or a hostile universe, right? And so I think this plays a lot into the victim mentality, right? Do people believe that the world is out to get them, or the government is out to get them, or others are out to get them? And they probably live most of their life in a doubtful mindset, which is probably not that enjoyable to live in. Or do we live in a universe where we actually think things are going to go okay? We're going to figure things out. It's probably not going to go in the path that we thought we were going to go. And in all honesty, when I was running that marathon, I trained pretty hard for it. And this is the second piece that I want to hit on this. I thought that I was going to make it through that with not a ton of pain. And I can genuinely say at like the 10-mile mark, I'm 210 pounds. I was beat up a little bit. My knees were hurting, my feet were hurting. I was kind of thirsty. I had run through every single song on my playlist. I didn't really want to listen to any more music. You're kind of just like, let's finish somehow. And I still had like a lot, like that's when the doubts really started to kind of kick in and am I going to be able to do this? And I did end up finishing the remaining 3.1 miles. But Einstein says, right, do we believe we live in a hostile universe or a friendly universe? And so I think it's kind of like, do you believe that life happens to you or life happens for you, right? Things happen in your life, and do I want to believe that this thing is happening for a certain reason? If I choose to do that, I think I do live life a little bit more beautifully, right? I think I do live life with a little bit more positivity. I think I do live life with a little bit more of an optimistic look, which is probably going to help me get more towards the outcome that I actually want. Now, here's the interesting thing about this saying, right? Going back to what that one member said about if we go from doubt to belief, sometimes it's hard to get to that belief point if we're trying to almost fake it, right? If we don't have any past experience or past evidence that we have done this thing, it might be hard to believe that we're going to get a good outcome or an outcome that we want. And so I think the best way to improve our belief with anything is to simply build evidence in that thing and to go actually do the thing, to actually prepare. And if you think about the marathon that we ran, I did 5 months of training for that. 3 to 4 times a week, I was going on 3, 4, 5 mile runs. I think the most I got up to was about 9 miles, which is ironic that at 10 miles was actually when it started to hit, probably because I hadn't done a 10-mile run, right? I didn't have any evidence that I could even run 10 miles, let alone 13.1. And so I think when it comes to us believing in ourselves, I think there are 2 ways we can look at this. We can try to fake the belief, and that becomes probably even more stressful because it's kind of like we're going to put on this facade that I believe in myself or I believe that the outcome's going to be good. And internally we're like, I got no fucking idea what I'm doing. And this might even make it even more stressful because now you're trying to please everything externally when internally you're super confused. Or, which I've totally been there before, and I'm still probably there in some areas if I took enough time to really think about where am I trying to put on a front, to feel like, hey, I got it all figured out, guys. When really internally I'm like, oh my God, I'm still trying to really figure this out. And I try to be very open and vulnerable about that. But the second piece is, what if I simply believed that the outcome could be fairly okay or all right based upon all of the preparation I put into it, based upon all of the reps I had in training to get the outcome that I wanted. And I heard Alex Hormozi say this once where he said, you'll be blown away by what 20 minutes of preparation can do for anything, right? And I remember when I meet with parents now who want to enroll their sons into the Be That Guy program where we work on stress and confidence and building better habits, or even if I'm talking to a guy who's already in his 20s and he's interested in enrolling into the program or just being a part of the community, I will prepare for that meeting in a way where it's like, I know the questions that I'm going to ask. I already have a strategy or an idea of how I'm going to develop some rapport, how I'm going to develop some connection. I'll go and look at LinkedIn or their social media profiles and see what can I just bring up to just start a conversation, to have a little bit of preparation to the point where I feel a little bit comfortable, more comfortable, or I believe that this is going to go okay, at least okay. Right. And then I think it comes to a point where it's like, well, let's define what okay looks like. Right. What does great look like? What does bad look like? Right. And I think, not to get too off topic here, because I think we can go down a lot of pathways with that. It's a matter of just simply having a little bit of preparation, having a little bit of evidence in that belief. So then you can actually think, hey, maybe this will actually go okay. Right. At least okay. So one last thing too that I want to hit on before we wrap this up is, here's a huge language shift to use when you're in a stressful situation. So I used this language shift when I was and the stressful situation is basically the thing that you're trying to balance the doubt and the belief about. So use the half marathon example, maybe you want to get a new job, start a new relationship, make more money, right? Whatever the thing is that you're trying to balance the belief and the doubt with. instead of looking at it as a stressful situation, look at it as an adventure. Now, I don't think that sounds too corny. Here's why. When we had the whole Hurricane Milton thing, I remember people were calling me and texting me, asking me like, what was I doing? Did I evacuate? All these things. And I ended up, like, the first probably day of those interactions, I was like, yeah, like this is a wild scenario. It's kind of stressful. I don't really know what to do. There's a lot of things I can't control here. I don't want my car floating in Tampa Bay, right? Like a lot of things that I was trying to figure out, and it was a little stressful. The second day, I changed my language to, yeah, this is quite an adventure. And when I started to say that, it kind of became like this game to navigate and to somehow see if I could win or somehow see if I could figure out. And so when you're in this moment of trying to balance, do I actually believe in myself in this, that this outcome could possibly happen, or do I still have some doubt? And by the way, I think it's human nature to still have some doubt because we're constantly trying to survive, right? And notice the things that could hurt us. And I think having doubt is probably just a piece of being a human being. I could be wrong with that. But I mean, there's still things that I doubt myself in that I'm trying to work through. But nonetheless, if you change that language to, hey, this is an adventure, it kind of becomes like this gamified thing to see if you can get through, right? And that's something that I've been talking a lot with the guys, because we talk about stressful situations all the time. We talk about anxiety, and it's like, how can we make this into an adventure? Right? Where it isn't like this stressful, painful thing. It's just, running this half marathon became kind of this adventure to get through, right? And it just is like this softer story that you can put to these events that might actually help you get through the thing. All right. So the one thing to take away from today's episode is this shift from doubt to belief, and creating belief by actually creating evidence and preparing to get an outcome that you actually want. All right. There's nothing like a little bit of preparation to actually have a plan, because that plan could get totally blown out of proportion. Yet the preparation, you know that you prepared, that might actually help you build a plan right on the fly. Right. So the preparation is the key here. All right. So shifting from that doubt to that belief and building that belief through evidence and preparation. All right. Thank you guys so much for your time today. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And as always, like, rate, review, and subscribe to the show. And until next week, keep doing hard things, and we'll talk to you guys soon. We'll see you.